Hi, I'm Curious Cass, and this is Curiosity Junkie. Today's guest is a sought after speaker and leader. She is a psychotherapist who meets her clients at the intersection of spirituality, psychology, and science. She's also a very dear friend of mine. Please welcome Tracy Brady. Hi, Tracy. How are you today?
Hi, Cassie. I'm well. Good to be back.
Yay, I'm so excited that you are back. And we're not going to waste any time. I want to jump into loneliness, depression. How I got to this was with COVID. We're all spending a lot of time alone, working from home. I think some people are starting to get out now. But I did want to kind of address that loneliness, depression piece and how we can take steps to maybe help find ways to back ourselves out of that. Because I know depression can start with that rumination. What can we share with people out there who are working from home? They're like totally in solitude and things aren't opening up. If you're in New York City, I don't know if that is opening up yet or still down. I think California is still closed up. So let's talk a little bit about loneliness.
You know, this is an isolating period for most people, whether or not your state or county or city is open or not, and if your kids are going back to school or not, and if well, that's a whole nother kind of thing, for the kids. But this is a time where we all are feeling very powerless, very kind of within ourselves, and that's not something that we're familiar with. So when you talk about loneliness and being alone, of course they're two different things, but number one for people to realize is that this is not something that you're accustomed to. This is not something anybody that we know of has ever done before. Yeah, there are people who have circumstances in their lives that have necessitated, or even by choice, some people want to be alone and isolate and that sort of thing. But
Right.
for the majority of us, this is like, what the hell? So,
Exactly. It is a little, and I think the fear piece plays into that a little bit too. People get afraid to go out, and that plays into the loneliness, I need to confine myself piece.
one of the things that can determine the severity of the experience of loneliness in the moment, anyway, is to pay attention to what you're telling yourself about it. What does this mean to me? What does this mean about me? What sort of narrative do you find yourself saying to yourself about the loneliness?
Mm-hmm.
Does it, I am alone. There's nobody to, nobody cares about me, or I'm not valuable, or I'm going to die. Well, if you take those thoughts and you kind of shine some light on them, and you ask yourself, is this really true? Does no one really care about me?
Yeah.
Most people will find that that's not true if they're honest. You know, so what are you telling yourself about the feelings?
Right.
Because that is adding a layer, can add a layer of either comfort or discomfort, and can increase the suffering or alleviate some of the suffering. And we do have choices in how we think, what our internal dialogue is. It doesn't mean that our habitual dialogue is not going to take precedence, because we've been saying these things to ourselves about certain things forever. And they're
Right.
based on vows that we made, and they're based on the way we were talked to as children, and they're based on the ways that we watched others react and respond to loneliness, or things out of their control. But we can fetch ourselves up sharply, as they say,
I like
if we need to, and we should, because now is not a time that anybody has ever experienced. And so one of the things, when you start something new, or you have a new project, or you're trying something new, is to give yourself some slack.
that.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, you've never done this before. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Anybody that's lived for these past 5 or 6 months or 4 months or 3 months or however long it's affected you, has gotten through it.
Right.
Take a look at that. You've come to this place. You haven't died.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening to this, you're not dead.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't died. You haven't starved to death. Uh, you still have probably some roof over your head. You've got some clothes to wear. You've got somebody who would listen to you if you could call them. So if that's true, then chances are you're probably going to get through today that way too. Chances are tomorrow is probably going to be okay too. You'll probably get through it. So pay attention to what you tell yourself, I guess, is probably the biggest tip I can offer for that. Because what we tell ourselves about things is how we experience them.
Right. Yes. I was just talking with a friend yesterday, and we were kind of talking about that. It's amazing how you manifest things into your life. And I think depression, loneliness, now it's not, I'm not saying it's all falls in that category. I'm not. There are some disconnects and some things that probably don't fall in this category under depression or loneliness. But I do think sometimes if you can change your thought, because what you're thinking is what is going to start happening in your life. You're already thinking about it. So if you're thinking about no one loves me, I'm all alone, no one cares, you're bringing that more and more into your life if you stay in that instead of trying to flip that to I love myself, I love you, I care about you. Like you said, you're doing the best you can. These are tough times. I think of it as, and you've said this many times, and I love it. And once you start practicing, I do think there is, I feel a change happen immediately in the way I'm talking to myself. It is talking to that inner child in a comforting way. So when I find myself getting down on myself or whatever, I tend to say, whoa, 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 you hang on a second. I love you. You're really doing the best you can right now. You don't know what you're doing. This is new. Let's just take a minute and regroup. It works wonders. It's amazing how it shifts your mindset. So, going back to the conversation I was having with my friend, that we manifest these things into our life and we don't even realize we do it because it's our thoughts bringing it to us.
You're right. Two things. Two things. You bring up two very important points, and one is that yes, our thoughts do occur most of the time without our participation,
Yeah.
and so they come and they go, and they come and they go. So one of the best things we can do with that is when those thoughts come, and ruminating just means going over and over and over and having the same thoughts occur, and trying to, brain just tries every which way to figure that stuff out. But if you can detach yourself or distance yourself from that, because we are not our thoughts, that's not who we are.
Right.
And so when we're thinking about something, ask yourself, am I intentionally creating this thought, or is this just occurring? But either way, you're going to experience whatever that is. Either way. So if you allow those same thoughts to continue, just as they always have, based on all of the past, based on what you've told yourself about things, you're going to continue to experience the same thing. It'll be Groundhog Day over and over and over. They say history repeats itself, and some wise person said history doesn't repeat itself, but it does echo.
Oh, I like that.
So that's why we think it's a new person, a new job. I'll be okay if I do move to a new town or something. No, you will echo the same thing that you're bringing forth from your own history and past and thoughts. So the way to change that and the way to have a new experience is to intend things. And if you want to intend something different, if you want to intend um, to, for example, exercise,
Right.
if then when those thoughts come that say it's painful or you're no good or you can't do it or it takes too long or all the things, those are the things that come to me. you know
Right.
um, what I have to do is not only acknowledge that that's a part of who I am and it's served me well somehow in the past, and acknowledge that inner child thinking and the way, that's great. But I also have to balance that with, you don't need that victim right now. You have to, if you really want to have some exercise, you have to do it even with that sort of thinking. That can't stop you, sort of thing. And so that is actually very empowering. When you tell yourself and you acknowledge that you do have these things that are going on and they are having a very strong pull on you. Yes, you're no good. Oh my God, it's awful. Oh my God, just, oh my gosh, it just makes you want to, um, the reason I'm saying this because I've had it, I know, and I work with people with the same stuff. We're all very similar in that. But taking that, taking the, taking charge, kind of, and saying no. That may be something that's true. It may hurt. It may be useless. It may be awful, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And I can't do, I can't let these thoughts stop me from being my best self. I just can't do that any longer. And in a way, it feels like a betrayal to yourself because a lot of people will say, uh, but aren't I supposed to honor my feelings? Well, of course you're supposed to honor your feelings, but are you going to honor feelings that are coming from BS?
Right.
Yeah, a BS thought. Because I am alone and because I feel lonely, that next thought is that no one cares about me. I'm alone. And is that really true? Well, I'm going to die anyway. And after I'm gone, they'll have to move on. So that means they don't care about me. What?
Yeah.
And I say this because I've had these thoughts. I've had to examine the truth and hold them up to the light and ask myself, you know, is this something you want to continue? How is this serving you? You know, just because I feel powerless to do something about the COVID and the political situation and the all sorts of, without getting political or causing a bunch of upheaval.
Right.
Just the things that I feel so powerless to do anything about. Does that mean I am truly powerless?
Mm.
No, it does not.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that I'm not valuable. Um, and so, anyway, I don't know if that's helpful, but you brought,
Yeah.
you brought it up, girl.
Right, right. I know. No, and I think that's great. And as you were talking, I had a thought pop into my head, and I think we forget that when we're feeling that way, and we're feeling like nobody cares, nobody's talking to me, nobody's calling me, I have a saying that phone goes both ways. So take a moment when you're feeling in that space. Maybe just pick up the phone and call somebody else. Maybe they're struggling with the same thing. Why not reach out and try to make somebody else feel good? Because that's going to make ultimately you feel good. Or journal. Sometimes getting those thoughts out, they just need to get down on paper. I love doing that. I feel like it's like having that good friend sitting right there and you get to talk to them and you get it all out and you feel really good once you've like spewed it all out. Sometimes therapy is writing it down. And then also, I think there's benefit to counseling. I benefited from it. It was huge for me going and being able to talk to someone that can help me process those in a healthy way. So, on that note, let's do a quick, like, if I want to reach out to you, Tracy, and talk to you about working with you on some things I'm struggling with, how would someone go about doing that? Is it the tracy.brady.com?
It's tracybrady.com. Yeah, just reach
Tracy.
me through tracybrady.com. Yeah, anybody who wants any kind of counseling, and I am working with my fees right now too. I don't believe that I don't want uh, dollars to get in the way of somebody getting the help that they might need or that I might be able to offer. So yeah, please, anybody can contact me that way. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
Yes, absolutely. Because I do think it's important, and I have friends and I have you that I reach out to and talk to when I'm struggling with something. And I think it's just really good to have a go to support for mental health, because we share a lot of stuff on here. It's not going to work for everybody. And sometimes you need help and coaching how to get to the place where you can do the things we're talking about. It doesn't just come naturally. This is a
Right,
little
right.
foreign to a
And
lot of people.
licensed professional counseling, which I am an LPC, is different from your friends. And a lot of people will have great support in their friends, but there are things that we don't always want to tell our friends or family, or maybe there are things that our friends or family won't tell us because they want to maintain that relationship, and we should. So it's also very important to remember that not our friends and family, although they mean well, they're not trained. This is a specific training, and it's very beneficial, especially now. There people don't realize that you can get some help. You don't have to do this by yourself, and we're very reluctant to ask for help.
Yes, yes, I'm the queen of that.
Well,
I,
hallelujah, I am too. Yeah,
right? Yes, yes, yes. I'm like, oh, I can do it. I can do it. And then I find myself like here overwhelmed, and I'm like, okay, I've got to ask for help. And you're so far down in at that point. You're like,
yeah.
oh,
It's
why didn't I do this sooner?
we tell ourselves something about that that if we can't do it ourselves, then we should be able to figure this out, that there's something wrong. But it's actually that old saying about um, you can't fix or help with the same way of thinking what caused the problem, the thinking that caused the issue and to begin with. I don't know how that goes,
Right,
but
right, right, right. No, I love that. And, I used to coach all the time as a manager and a VP. There are no dumb questions. Ask
yeah,
for help. If you're struggling, ask for help. And I'm like, I gotta remember to do that. We're great at giving advice. Sometimes it's hard to remember to do it. So that's why I think it's great to have a counselor, a professional that can help you process some of those thoughts, especially when it comes to depression and loneliness, because it's so easy to stay in that and have those same thoughts, and just learning how to process them and getting to that better place is so critical to health and
well, yeah, and
wellness.
I'm not a prescriber. I don't prescribe. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Psychiatrists are the ones that prescribe.
Right.
But I do come from a place of, what can we control? Let's take care of what we do have some control over. And people don't realize the power that they have to change their own lives. And you're not supposed to know, I think, all the time. You're supposed to venture outside your comfort zone or come to the place of pulling, you can't pull yourself up by your own bootstraps anymore. You're just jerking it, jerking. It's like not working anymore. And so that's a normal place where we come to surrender to our own limitations.
Yes.
And that can be with anything. Like you say, you've experienced it with work, and you want people to come to their managers and ask for help and say, not sit and struggle and wonder and second guess and try. It's such an easier, softer way to ask for help. We don't live in this world by ourselves. We're not alone. There's a reason that people like you and I and others exist. And we're here for that. We're here to help people. Whatever, difficulties you face, the effort that you put into trying to fix them sometimes just makes them more burdensome.
Yes.
And when you come to that place, then you've done all you can, and then maybe you just need a different perspective. Maybe you just need somebody with some training in that area to help you. I mean, if you're trying to trim a tree and you're trying to do it right and you've got a chainsaw, you think you've got the only tool you need, and the tree's fallen or you've got the branches off kilter or something. Maybe you need to talk to somebody who knows about that stuff.
Yes.
I know that's a weird analogy.
No. I love your analogy. So so it's good visual. Like, yes, I get what you're saying. No, that is fantastic. I think it's a short one today. I just wanted to kind of touch on this so people don't feel alone and they know they have somebody to reach out to. And I wanted to make sure that people know they can reach out to you because you're on here a lot, and I know people are finding value in what you're sharing. And so I really want people to know that they can connect with you for help. And I'll run your information again in the description so that everybody has it. And thank you again for coming on. I love it.
My pleasure. Good to see you, Kat.
You too. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you're struggling with loneliness or depression, don't hesitate to reach out to Tracy or someone local in your area. Don't have to suffer. And stay safe and stay curious. Thanks so much.